Hi, and welcome to the Long Range Shooting and Custom Rifle Building podcast presented by Wolf Precision Incorporated, where we learn about and share long range shooting and custom rifle building. I am your host, Jamie Dotson, and welcome to the show. Hi, and welcome to episode 46 of Wolf Precision's Long Range Shooting and Custom Rifle Building podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Dotson, and welcome to the show. In this episode, we are going to be talking about advertising, some false pretenses. We're going to give you some updates for the shooting schools. The shooting season is kicking off, and the corona craziness is sort of dying down here in central Pennsylvania. Hopefully, we'll get back to some normalcy soon. We're going to talk about some of the things that we're seeing on the firing line as far as the fundamentals of marksmanship. Maybe some tips and tricks to get you started in the right direction. And of course, we want to talk a little bit about reloading. We've had several questions now. Everybody's getting ready for the shooting season. And a lot of people that get into long range shooting eventually do get into reloading. So we want to talk about some pros and cons when it comes to reloading. So again, thank you for joining us. And without further ado, here we go. So we picked up a new sponsor or advertiser for our podcast. We are really excited to have them on board. Of course, those that know, we don't accept any advertisement or any promotional products on stuff that we don't use. And I find that to be very selling under false pretenses type scenarios. And we've had situations where companies have actually mailed us checks and had asked us to sponsor or to put some ads on the podcast, and we politely said thank you and actually returned the checks to them simply because we want to make sure that anything that we're involved in or anything that we're using or doing is a really good quality product and stuff that we actually believe in. And so I want to say thank you to Trigger Tech, who is now an official advertiser or sponsor of the show. So thank you so much, Trigger Tech, for coming on board and sponsoring the Long Range Shooting and Custom Rifle Building podcast. We certainly appreciate all the help in producing the show and getting all the great equipment that we need and that we use. We do take a lot of time to do this, and it's taken away from other parts of our business, so any help that we get, we certainly appreciate it. That said, though, let me tell you this. If you're getting into long-range shooting, we talk about this at the shooting school a lot. Once you're getting actually ready to shoot, so we go over this in the fundamentals of marksmanship. We teach it at the class. And if you go back and listen to some of our previous podcasts when we talk about like trigger control and follow through, as soon as you're ready to shoot, 80% of my focus is on the trigger, 20% is on the target and the conditions surrounding it. And my goal is to pull that trigger straight to the rear and get the shot to go downrange exactly when I want it to, how I want it to, without me influencing the shot. And what we found over the years with triggers is they are all over the place, sometimes, breaking inconsistently or having a lot of adjustments that can constantly need adjusted. The other problem we have in the type of shooting that we do is the fact that they get dirty and they can jam up. We've watched teammates of ours have triggers that stopped working in the middle of matches, and that's led us personally down the road to using Trigger Techs in all of our custom rifles. And it's for a reason. Number one, there's one screw to adjust the pound weight, so the customers can't get themselves into trouble if they want to lower or raise the pull weight, of course. The other part is that they're self-cleaning, and the fact that if you're in this field for a long period of time, with the way the trigger works, it does help sweep away any dirt and debris that gets in there that causes the triggers to malfunction. And then the third part is they've got to break clean, super sharp, crisp breaks. And so you've got the Trigger Tech Primary, Trigger Tech Special, and the ultimate trigger is the Trigger Tech Diamond. And now we do have the 2-stage triggers. We have several here, one of them in Diamond. That's our first production run. For those that know me and shoot with me, I love 2-stage triggers. I have been shooting a single-stage Trigger Tech for the last couple of years, waiting patiently for the new 2-stage Trigger Techs to come out into production. So they are here. So if you're looking for a replacement trigger, I will tell you that this is something that we stand behind. It's something that it's a product that we use and we believe in, and we spend our hard-earned money in on our own rifles. And so if you're looking for a great Trigger Tech, stop over to triggertech.com, look at their selections. They are fantastic people. Their customer service is second to none, and we really appreciate them advertising or supporting the show here. So thank you so much, Trigger Tech, and a big shout out to them for their products and the quality. Now, to go back to what I was just saying, though, where you see a lot of false pretenses or we're advertising one thing but shooting another type deal, I just give you just one quick example, and this is one of the reasons why we don't do this, is we know of some people who go and shoot matches that shoot and promote a certain product, let's just say, for example, an action that they either got for free or they're being paid to shoot. But when it comes to building their own rifles that they use personally for hunting or for competition, they don't use that product. So, for example, we know of a particular gunsmith that shoots a particular action that they're sponsored by. And the reason they're shooting that action in the matches isn't because they believe it's the best product. It's because they're being paid to shoot it or they're getting them for free. And so while they're at matches, they're advertising that this is the action that I shoot and this is the action that we believe in. And, but behind the scenes, their own personal guns, as well as the rifles that they shoot on their own time, the things that they spend their hard-earned money on isn't what they're telling you. And I find that to be is sort of a double-edged sword. I mean, I get it. Maybe it's making money or helping to offset their cost of attending these matches, but I think there's a little bit of snake oil or dishonesty with that. I mean, if you're asking someone else to spend their hard-earned money on a product that you're demonstrating or showing them, shouldn't it be something that you believe in as well? Or are you deceiving that person and saying, yeah, this is what I shoot. They're fantastic. Love them to pieces. But then when they go home, their rifles aren't in that action. I find that to be a little deceiving. If you believe in a product that is that much superior, or if you're going to tell somebody to go out and buy something to spend their hard-earned money on, and you're going to actively sell and engage that person on the product that you're using and saying, hey, this is the product that we believe in, and this is a great product, and you should go, then don't you think it should be something that you actually believe in so much that you spend your own hard-earned money on it? And if that product won't sponsor you, then wouldn't you choose to shoot it anyway simply because it's a superior product or a better product and you like it that much better for so many other reasons? So this is the part that I find, just a little bit offset. So we won't and don't allow any sponsorship for the show here that isn't something that we believe in or isn't something that we use. So we don't allow, under any circumstances, any products here that we won't personally shoot. And I stick to that. It's cost me, relationships over the years because we might like these people from these different companies, but we won't use their product and we won't sell their product and we won't advertise their product, not because they're not good. It's just that we don't use them. And I think it would be false for me to put something up for sale or to tell people or sell people a product that we personally don't believe in enough to spend our own hard-earned money on. And so I like to throw that out there that the advertising 101, maybe I failed that class. Maybe that's why, we're a growing business and there's other businesses that are monsters above us. But on the flip side of that coin, I'm not going to sell my soul to the devil. I'm not going to tell people to buy something with their hard-earned money that we personally wouldn't spend our hard-earned money on. I find that to be something that goes against my moral compass. So not that I'm better than anybody else and I'm not judging. It's just that I believe that if I'm going to tell you to spend your hard-earned money on something, it's something that I actually truly believe in and something that I enjoy shooting, something I think is an asset to a shooter, something that I believe so much in that I actually use it myself. The shooting schools have kicked off full force. Really excited to have them going again. The reason the podcast is several weeks behind is because, of course, the coronavirus craziness has shut down the resort that we hold the classes at. And so about 7 weeks before the classes started, we thought, hey, we better address this now because if these things stay closed, we're going to be in the middle of the range under a tent in 30-degree weather teaching a class outdoors at 8 in the morning. And so, we teach and we want it to be real world, but at the same time, we sort of want people to be comfortable. So we scrambled. Thank you to Esch's Storage Barns. They're out of Bedford, Pennsylvania for building the building for us. It's 14 feet by 40. It has 5 doors that we can open and shoot from inside out. It is on property. It is ready to roll. We've been using it. We had like 4 or 5 small classes back to back so we could get the students in smaller groups rather than having 8 in a class. So it's requiring 2 or 3 more times to work and, of course, the investment in the building. But in the end, it just worked out great. I mean, we're getting to spend a lot of time with everybody. The experiences that people are having at the school, I think we've really upped our game. We still have work to do to the building on the inside and try to get it to where we want it to be permanently. But, we have power, we have lights, we have our TV there so we can, show the slides and everything that we're working on. And it just works out great. So we're really thankful for Estes Storage Barn for really stepping to the plate and building this building for us. We were super enjoying it. It snowed on us the first class of the year, which is odd for May. And we were inside with the doors closed and the heat on, telling stories and talking shooting. That's always a great thing. So we will be adding several more classes. So all of the June classes are full, and we're grateful for that. But we will be adding a couple more classes through July and August. We should be able to shoot here on grounds till November. So as we keep moving forward, we'll keep adding more classes. So if you log on to the website at Wolf Precision and you see that the classes are full, just keep an eye out because we'll be adding more dates as we keep moving forward. And this will allow us to run the class pretty much 9 months out of the year. So we'll probably start our classes sometime in the end of March, beginning of April. As soon as the snow melts, we can get on grounds, and we should be able to run them right up into about deer season or Thanksgiving. So we're looking forward to that. So the podcast itself, I really tried to make a commitment that we would get 1 new podcast out a week. Unfortunately, all the craziness has required us to work 80, 120 hours a week just to get everything where it should be to get us prepped from here forward. So I apologize to all the listeners out there that we haven't had a podcast out in probably 3 or 4 weeks now. We should be back on track to 1 a week. We have several interviews scheduled. We're looking forward to bringing them on, some guests, and hopefully some good information for us, the shooters. Now, we had a couple questions that I want to try to go over here I think are pretty important. We did a podcast where we were talking about the weight of a rifle and how that pendulum swings from ultralight to, really heavy. For example, the school rifles now weigh 21 pounds. And we're trying to reduce the recoil on purpose to teach the art of fundamentals of marksmanship. And the question was, between 6 pounds and 8 pounds, that's, you've got your pendulum swung the whole way over to where you've got, sheep guns being sold at 5 and 5.5 pounds, where people are trying to get that super lightweight and then put an optic on top of it, for a sheep hunt maybe in Alaska. And then you see a lot of the normalized lighter weight hunting rifles that can fall in like that 7 pound to 8 pound area. And they were really asking, like, what is the difference? Why are the ultralights such a big deal? And why don't you guys get into that scenario with those ultralight rifles? And being that we just finished up 4 classes almost back to back, I'd like to share with you that thought and really why. What we found, and we see it here at the school all the time, because we are allowing customers to bring their own rifles as long as they're suppressed, or they can rent a suppressor here. So as long as their rifles are threaded 5H24, we put a suppressor on because we do shoot from the inside of the building out, which keeps us out of the weather, makes it a lot more comfortable, but we can't have muzzle brakes in the building or be shooting unsuppressed. It'd be really unpleasant for everybody there. But that said, we get a chance to watch a lot of these guys shoot. And I will tell you that you've got to control the recoil to understand and learn the fundamentals of marksmanship. You cannot, under any circumstances, learn the fundamentals of marksmanship shooting an anti-tank rifle. If you look back over the years at a lot of your hunting rifles, not only were they lightweight, but they were big calibers. Well, we've talked in the past about, that really cuts your legs out for being able to spot your own shot, which I think is crucial. Being able to do a quick follow-up shot, which again, I think is crucial. Not getting hit in the face with your scope. We were watching a video someone sent us of a TV show that airs nationally, and the son got on the rifle on a Magnum and pulled the trigger, and of course come back and his face is bleeding. I'm not sure if that's really necessary to shoot an elk at 500 yards. And not only that, but you get hit in the face a couple times like that, you're going to start to develop some bad habits because, let's just face it, there is not a single thing fun about having your face split open by the eye cup of a rifle scope. So why we stay in that light area but not super light is because we watch it at the school. The rifles are jumping up, landing somewhere else, pointing. And what it does, if you're learning the art of shooting and fundamentals of marksmanship, is it hides all the things that you're doing wrong from you. So as you're shooting, you could be developing all these bad habits, but because the recoil is violent or more violent than it should be, it covers up all of these things that you start to develop dealing with that heavy recoil. So what we found was not only can we get the customers to shoot better with a heavier rifle, which I think is important. If you're going to build a long-range rifle, long-range and lightweight doesn't go together real well, because you're not going to shoot the gun to its fullest potential because you can't. The recoil is too heavy. The rifle is quick to move, quick to hop. I mean, there's so many more things that are happening a lot faster than what we humans can keep up with it at. So keeping a little bit more weight to tone down that recoil, to slow the recoil, because with recoil, you've got energy and velocity. You've got not only just the amount of energy that rifle is going to put on your shoulder or face in some cases, but also how fast it recoils back. So you've got energy and you've got velocity. And the lighter the rifle, the more velocity that stock gets coming back to hit you. And the faster that happens and the more violent it happens, the more chances of you messing it up fundamentally by putting either too much cheek pressure, your cheek weld, your hand squeeze, how you're reacting when it does launch into you. What I personally found is a really good, now we're not talking about a rifle that's a sheep rifle that you're going to take, let's just say a 260, and you're going to shoot sheep at 200 to 300 yards. I get it. I think you could shoot that rifle fine at 6 pounds or under. I had a 243 that was my favorite groundhog gun forever. It weighed just around 6 pounds without any optics on it. It was what I would call my walk-in pop gun. But if it was long shots or longer, ounces really make a difference. Now, you'll hear people saying carrying weight, that ounces equal pounds and pounds equal pain. Well, same thing happens in the other direction with heavy recoiling rifles. The lighter you make it, the more pain you're going to get delivered onto you. But we did some testing here with some instructors, and even going from for example, like a 7-pound 8 ounce to 13 ounce to 8 pounds 2 ounces 3 ounces. So just adding 6 or 8 ounces to the rifles, you would swear you were shooting an absolutely different caliber, just because that little bit of weight bought you a little less speed and velocity on how the rifle's recoiling is fast and helps control the hop, helps you slow the pace down on which you can control your fundamentals through, because you're reducing the amount of felt recoil, because some of the energy is being absorbed into the weight of the rifle as it's being pushed back to you. So the answer to the question is, we don't like the pendulum swinging too far the other way, because it doesn't allow you to grow and learn. In other words, if you're fundamentally perfect and sound, you could probably shoot one of these rifles for a little while and shoot it pretty well, although it's hard to control, and it really is at distance a hard rifle to shoot consistently well. But if you're like most of us, we're in the art of learning the long-range shooting. Why start off with something that's going to introduce or potentially bring more problems to the table? And so if you want to learn, stay out of that area. I know it sucks. Carrying an extra pound on a rifle you feel it at the end of 3 or 4 or 5 days on a hunt. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But being able to hit what you're shooting at, being comfortable training with it, feeling confident in the shots, not developing any bad habits, that's priceless. And so it all comes at a cost, and I think that extra little bit of weight is worth it. So we stay in that 7-pound, 12, 13, 9-ounce range, and then we get into the light 8 pounds for our long-range hunting rifles. Because in the end, we want them to shoot as good as all of our other rifles. We are just typically trying to make them as light as possible without reducing the potential shootability or the accuracy. So we reduce the weight to the point where we feel that if we go any lighter, that we're going to cut the legs underneath the shooter, out from underneath the shooter himself fundamentally, or the rifle isn't going to be shooter friendly and going to allow the shooter to start developing some bad habits just because of the increased recoil. If you get into long-range shooting, you are probably going to get into hand loading. We've talked about reloading in the past. We've talked about actually holding classes on it here. But we deal in field phone calls almost on a weekly basis when it comes to reloading. One of the websites I like to throw out there a lot, and they're not sponsors of the show or anything like that, but Varmint Owls, varmintowls.com. He's a retired engineer from California. He has not only a great reloading page, but he also has a recoil calculator that not only tells you how much recoil or energy is being put on the shooter, but I think it also calculates the velocity of the rifle coming rearward. So you can put in the weight of the rifle, weight of the bullet, caliber, all this stuff, and it gives you, I believe, both the amount of energy you're feeling as well as the velocity of the rifle being sent back to you, the shooter. So if you're going to get into shooting, here's a list of things that we recommend. I really like Forester full length. I do like the Forester coaxial press. That's what I use personally, single stage press. For the precision part of shooting, I don't like using progressive presses. The powder throwers don't work just like I would like them to. We want really low standard deviations. And so I really do think a single stage press is a good way to go. We use full length sizing dies, competition seating dies. Make sure when you get a competition seating die that you get one with a micro adjustable, so that way you can set the seating depth exactly where you want it to be. Don't be afraid to play that game of getting off the land. Some guys try to seat as close to the rifling as possible, but there are some theories out there that says that they'll shoot just as good as 20 and 30 and 80 thousandths off the lands. So don't get into panic mode, especially if you're in a factory rifle and you can't get to the lands. It's okay. Pick a good bullet that's jump tolerable. Like, you've got different brands. Whether it's the new Burger bullets, the AMAX or ELDs from Hornady, the Sierras, they jump well. They tolerate it, and so you seat them into where they'll run in the magazine, and then seat them in further and try them and shoot them and see what you got. We've done testing here that showed that even with the 308, we seated bullets 80 thousandths deeper than what we were shooting them, and it really didn't seem to affect the accuracy of the rifle, which was amazing. So a lot of theory says that Weatherby had it right. Bullets actually like to jump, and actually the accuracy, may not be affected as much as what you think. So experiment a little bit, I guess is what we're saying. Just be cautious when you're reloading. Be careful picking up information off the internet. A lot of people post their personal hand loads, which might not be safe in your rifle. Follow good techniques, and in worst case scenario, read the manual. A Redding, all of those guys have Hornady. They all make books for hand loading. And there's some really good YouTube channels out there now that really focus on hand loading that are really going to square you away. So, or just find somebody that you enjoy hanging out with that is a professional hand loader by right. Maybe they're shooting bench rest, or maybe they've been shooting PRS for several years, and start hanging out with them, asking lots of questions. Just here's caution. Don't be watching the game and eating wings and drinking beer while you're reloading. Nothing good's coming out of that. And the reason I bring this back up is there's a lot of custom or semi-custom hand loading manufacturers out there, smaller scaled industries that are sort of selling their hand loads to customers outright. We had them here at the school last year. We had a squid load in one of them right out of the gate, which for us as shooters is actually really dangerous in a bolt gun. So hand loading is really a good way to go. You'll make probably better or more accurate ammunition than that of what you could buy at any price, really. Some guys enjoy the quiet time, setting down for an hour or two and making the ammunition. The art of it itself is fun for some people, and then you'll save a ton of money. I mean, you're making and reusing the brass over and over again. You're buying components, and it just allows you to shoot more. And I think you will shoot more when you reload, because you're going to be working up loads. You're going to be going to the range shooting the loads. You are going to get a lot more trigger time if you get into reloading. So we might be sharing some stuff on that on some future podcasts. I'd like to bring one or two people on for an interview and talk with them about some of the secrets that they've learned over the years. That's sort of planned for the future. So just keep a watch out. You start seeing one for the reloading, click on her, and we'll try to share with you as much information as we can. The other thing I want to throw out here in this podcast is we had some customers send us some links to some forums where, we have some gunsmiths that obviously have no love for, what we've been working on with this ACE system, and not knowing a thing about us, never seeing or touching our product or seeing it work. they just were lambasting us on some forums. I personally, I find it funny. I don't buy into it. I don't argue on forums. I don't attack people, especially people that I don't know anything about. But, it brought a lot of attention to our product, which, I sort of appreciated. But I do want to throw out there, though, this podcast is partly supported by Wolf Precision Incorporated. Of course, it's our parent company. And so they are sponsored of the show here. And I'm going to say this, that, in response to it, and kudos to awesome to the customers to, emailing us, say, hey, did you see this? And we even had, believe it or not, one or two gunsmiths call us and say, hey, I seen that forum where they were just lambasting your product. And he said, it's funny because none of them on there know anything about you. And one of them actually took the time to find and go on 3 or 4 different, is the gunsmith, by the way, 3 or 4 different forums and post stuff. Found our YouTube channel, posted comments. I mean, the guy knows nothing about us. I've never met the guy. I don't know the guy. But I can tell you what I think of him as far as, doing stuff like that. I find that to be very much speaking of his character. But outside of that, let me tell you this. I'm not pulling any punches on this. If you're shooting a rifle that's not chambered with an ace, you're shooting 1800s technology. And, if you want to shoot and get the barrel to shoot to its full potential, and you want to get the most consistent accuracy out of it, then reaming the barrel is stuff that was done in the 1880s. And so I'm not going to, stand by and let somebody, bash our product that doesn't know anything about it. And instead, I was actually being very kind and saying, hey, I think we have something really cool here. We've been working on it. The stuff that we've seen as far as accuracy has just been stellar. We have them both we had 3rd place in the World Bench Rest Open, missed 1st place by a group being just a couple inches left. We have them competing in PRS matches and winning and placing. These rifles are hammers, and the trick of it is that they're all hammers. We haven't produced a rifle yet using our system that doesn't work. And the reason being is it's a repeatable process that takes the individual curvature of the bore of each individual rifle, which is like a fingerprint, by the way. Not all rifles have that curvature of the bore to the extreme, but they all have it, and some way more than others. So we've taken that individual process out of it doesn't matter. We were able to finish the rifle and remove that fingerprint portion that can really destroy the accuracy of a rifle, because we're not drilling into the curvature of the bore. That is something that was done when said, hey, rather than making a nock for an arrow, we're just going to carve a little notch in the back, and we're going to, rather than putting a tip on it or putting a broadhead on it, we're just going to sharpen a stick. That's the same mentality. The guy posted, well, how does making a barrel and a chamber separate help? It helps everything. How does making an arrow out of 35 different parts help? It helps everything. The tip isn't made into the arrow anymore. There's an insert. And inside that insert goes a mechanical broadhead that has 20-some parts or 30-some parts in some cases. And same thing with the nock. The nock is an insert, and then the nock is applied, which then has illumination, which then has the, so how does it help? It helps everything. You're forcing the making of one part, the chamber, inside the portion of another part, the barrel. And you're allowing them to both negatively affect each other's ability to do their job properly. So if you want to shoot a rifle that is made with technology that we're capable of doing, so the key to this system is it doesn't rely on a gunsmith in the day that he's having, or the quality of work that he's capable of doing, or the fact that he's backlogged 15 and he's starting to rush barrels out the door, not taking into consideration the crooked throat that he's going to start cutting as he's ramming these reamers in as fast as he can get them in there without measuring out the curvature of the bore. But we can repeat the process of how I built rifles by hand at scale. It removes the individual out, both personality, stress on the job day, thinking about mowing the grass when you're getting home from work day, all of these things that people fall asleep at the wheel. And by the way, using 120, 140-year-old technology, and they're drilling a hole in your barrel to form the chamber. So to you gunsmiths that are out there just bashing this product, just because you love nostalgia and you want to drive a covered wagon to work, doesn't mean that everybody else in the carpool is obligated to ride with you. I mean, that's just simply the way it is. So stop playing with that. And if you really want a rifle that shoots fantastic and you want a rifle that has true 20th century technology, then I'm not going to lay down and fall asleep and let these hack gunsmiths who are selling, this crap out of their garage going to go on public forums and bash my product when we can run circles around them. And we've done it. We've sent product to some military aspects. We're getting ready to build some for some other government aspects. Every single one performs exactly the way they're supposed to because they were designed that way. They are not dependent on a gunsmith's, his or her individual talent, or their ability to pay attention that day. We have a system now that allows us to make the perfect chamber, as well as the perfect way to attach to the barrel, and do it in a repeatable process that gets away from the curvature of the bore. So I don't know anybody here personally, and we know some Amish, right, that drives a covered wagon to work. So I really don't understand, why, as we keep pushing our products forward in technology, why some people insist that shooting a covered wagon is still better. So I'll leave you alone and let you do your thing, but don't call us out on public forums and explain why our product doesn't work or can't work when you don't know anything about us. You've never even seen or touched our product. And, we have 7-8 years of research and development that says you're dead nuts wrong, and that we have fixed a lot of the things that plagued us, the shooters. Is it expensive? Yes. There's nothing we can do about that. Our components for our builds cost as much as the retail of some of these rifles. I mean, they're very expensive because of the expectations that we have both on the rifles as well as the quality control that we try to maintain through the process. And so without going on a big rant here, I just want to throw it out there to our listeners that, thank you, A, for bringing it to our attention, and B, Wolf Precision is a sponsor of the show, and so I'm going to start advertising it and saying, look, these guys don't speak for us. They don't know anything about our product. And to be quite honest with you, they're sort of in this self-preserving mode. So the only way they can make themselves still relevant is the fact that they have to point out and say that there's all these flaws that they're making up that really don't exist. And again, like, they don't know anything about us, how we do it, any of the internal secrets, or, by the way, multiple patents that we have on the process. And I said to the one gunsmith that had privately, this isn't some hack job here. So I even said to the gunsmith, I offered to talk to one of the gunsmiths that have been, I guess, I don't know what they call it when they start following you everywhere and start posting everything that they can find about you. But I even offered for him to give me a call and talk with him on the phone and sort of explain how our product works, maybe answer some of his questions. But he wouldn't do that. He was too busy for that, machining barrels for customers, but not too busy to go and hunt every forum he can find to post stuff about our product. So if you see that stuff out there, feel free to poke fun at it and laugh a little bit. I don't take offense to it at all. It's just simply, the way businesses work. Some people go into self-preservation mode and really just try to destroy other people's ideas simply because it's a threat. And that part I get. So I do appreciate the attention they brought, because it brought lots of traffic over to our website. But again, I'm just going to throw it out there that the way that they're chambering is 140-year-old technology, and I'm not going to apologize for it. And we found a way that can duplicate how I used to build rifles by hand in a repeatable process that allows both the barrel to shoot to its fullest ability without the chamber negatively affecting it, and the chamber to be made perfectly straight, true, round without the barrel negatively affecting the chamber. So we can make the two parts better by making them separate and then joining them together appropriately. And I think that was the key to it all. One of the other things I want to throw out that I thought was hilarious is we had a customer call us from out west that listens to the podcast. He asked a really great question, and we spent some time covering the question here on the podcast. And as a way of saying thank you, I sent him our T-shirt, one of our Wolf Precision T-shirts, and said thanks. And he sent me an email and said, hey, can I give you a call? And he gave me a call. So the story goes like this. He was his friend that he was there with this big show at. It was a hunting show. He was there. His friend was helping this other quote-unquote higher-end hunting rifle manufacturer. And so he was there helping his friend who was helping this company. And so when he went to the booth, he was wearing our shirt. And they said to him just pretty much point blank that, if I'm getting the story correctly, that you can't be here with that shirt on. And I thought, so he called me and he said that, just had to call and tell you that, yeah, he said I was actually unwelcomed to help or to be at the booth with my friend. And all I was doing was wearing your T-shirt that you gave me for asking and following your podcast, and for me asking a question, and you sent me a T-shirt. He said I just liked the T-shirt. He said, but because I was wearing it, I was not allowed to stand in the booth, and I wasn't allowed to be there. And I thought that was hilarious. It just shows the level of the mindset sometimes when people are working on stuff, especially trying to break into an industry or break an industry, and sort of change the way that things are being currently done. You know, everybody's sort of entrenched into the way that things have been done for the last, I don't know, like 100 years. And so you've got this big change on the horizon, and something that's just totally unique that could change the entire industry and how self-preserving or protecting people are. And I get it, you know, they're trying to, you know, protect their livelihoods and everything else, but they see it as such a threat that you can't even wear one of our T-shirts and be near their booth. I mean, that was sort of hilarious. So I appreciated the phone call. It made me giggle a little bit, and it's not meant to do stuff like that. Like I have lots of friends that are gunsmiths still today that we shot together years ago, and they went off and started building their own custom rifles. We built ours, and that's great. And we still see each other. We're still great friends, and you know, I always open doors. You know, I like to talk to them at matches. I'm not ditching on their product or anything like that. I've never done that. But at the flip side, I've never been attacked like in this mode before, and I guess simply just because we're a threat. So thanks to the customer out there. His name was Chuck. Thank you for sharing your story with me. It really made my day as far as just to get a good smile and giggle with you that something like that had happened, and just for you wearing my T-shirt, and thanks for sharing that. That was pretty awesome. So thank you for the customers that emailed, that ran across the threads. I really appreciate you pointing it out, and you know, that was really awesome for them to throw it out and say, hey, we don't want to say anything inappropriate. You know, we just thought we'd let you know that, hey, this one or two people are out there just bashing the daylights out of you. Hey, you know, it's going to happen, and so we sort of take it in stride. But thank you for the customers that sent it to our attention. We certainly appreciate it, and you know, really just, you know, sticking up for us out there and saying, hey, we actually own their product, and it's actually really good. So thanks, guys. I appreciated that. If you have any questions as we keep moving along, especially for those that are curious about what the ACE is or the Accurizing Chamber Extension, please feel free to give us a call, or feel free to attend one of our shooting schools and get a couple of days on it on hand, you know, and shoot it and see what it really is all about. We're quite fascinated with it, and it's been our life's work. You know, at nearly 50 years old, this is sort of everything that I've worked for my entire life, to try to make better rifles and make better quality rifles than that of which I could buy years ago, and to bring our level of game up, because in the end, we all want to shoot a little better, a little further, and enjoy ourselves while we're doing it. And that's sort of the whole feature behind why we build rifles, because we want to shoot a little better, we want to shoot a little farther, and we want to enjoy ourselves, you know, in the process. And that's really sort of like the tagline behind even our business model is this is why we do what we do. And so thanks to the customers out there for pointing that out. I really appreciate it. Don't be afraid to reach out to us if you have any questions. We are still planning, by the way, to start working on our video series. That should be kicking off here in a couple weeks yet. We're finishing up our building that we're going to be doing the filming in, and so we can do a lot of range work as well. And that sort of went all crazy with this coronavirus stuff for the last 6 weeks. And again, I hope you all are healthy and well. It's really nice. I really enjoyed to get back on the firing line and spend a couple hours, you know, shooting with clients and sending some rounds down range. And it really, for a while there, felt like we were getting back to normal until we had to get down to the local gas station to get gas, and everybody had to wear face masks, you know, or something silly like that. Then it snaps you back to the world that we live in at the moment. But it sure was nice to go out on the firing line and put some rounds down range with everybody, and hit some steel and do the things that we love to do. So that was pretty awesome. Please share our podcast whenever you get the chance. It helps us so much. We have grown to be one of the top podcasts in the country in the outdoor category, and we're growing overseas as well. And it's all because of you guys out there tuning in, listening, and you know, supporting the podcast. We really, really do appreciate it. So if you would like to leave any comments on Facebook, or you know, you want to post anything up on iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play, any of the places where you find the podcast. It really helps other people find us as well, and we certainly do appreciate that. So thank you so much for taking the time for joining us. My name is Jamie Dotson. I'm your host, and you're listening to the Long Range Shooting and Custom Rifle Building Podcast.